that actual residential units over the next 30 to 40 years are expected to be something between 1,680 and 4,179. Hey there, Wilsonville. My name's Adam Cunningham. I'm a candidate for Wilsonville City Council. Over these last couple of months, I've been doing a lot of research, reading through a lot of reports about the town center plan. I've also been having a lot of meetings at City Hall. These meetings have been enlightening, and I've learned some things about the town center plan as it stands today that were pretty eye-opening. And I think it's important that if we're going to have an open and transparent local government, that you all know what the plan is and what town center looks like and what it could be. So we're going to start by jumping into what the plan from 2019 looks like. The Wilsonville Town Center plan was adopted on May 6, 2019, and it was largely informed by the Town Center's finding report from February of 2019. Notice that the Town Center finding report says the Wilsonville Town Center will have a high density of residents and workers with the new land use. It goes on to say that the new persons per acre will be approximately 84.51 at full project build-out. So when I gave this council testimony,
I implore our city to honestly engage with our citizens to find out if citizens really want to add over 8,000 people into a small area in our city center.
Given that I was taking information directly from the city's own reports, I was surprised to be called out in the taxpayer-funded city-published Boone's Ferry Messenger under their myth-busting section with a headline labeling statements false, including public testimony about 8,000 new people in the town center neighborhood. In order to help clarify this issue, recently a citizen asked this question to our city council.
And so I would like to have the answer to the question that we can all point to in this video to say, are there 4,400 homes planned in the town center plan, or is it more of the 1,600 homes in the 40-year period?
The mayor's response took about 8 minutes. I've distilled it down here to about 40 seconds to hit the key points, the numbers that we're looking at. And if you want to see her full response, you're welcome to go check it out. It's the September 16th City Council meeting between about 3 hours and 14 minutes and 3 hours and 22 minutes.
And within this many-page booklet is a prediction, a guess on how many housing units would probably be there. No one has a crystal ball in 40 years. So at 40 years, if you go all the way across, you get to 1,600 units. We're adding 6,000. We're projecting, again, this is a guess using economic projection standards, 6,318, bringing us to, if we add the people who are working and living in the town center now, plus the projected new people over 40 years, we get 8,450.
Well, that settles it. The mayor said only 1,600 residential units, right? Well, I went to several meetings at City Hall, and I brought up the 2023 Urban Renewal Feasibility Study. This study examines the financing, how we're going to pay for all of the infrastructure upgrades and pay for all of these things to go into town center. This study tells a little bit of a different story. See, this chart shows the detailed assumptions for new development in that 2023 feasibility study. And it shows not a 40-year time window, but a 30-year time window where 4,179 units would be built in town center. So now you're probably asking, well, Adam, why is there such a big discrepancy between the town center plan and the feasibility study? Well, I had that same question too. And to get into that, we have to go back into the Urban Renewal Task Force Town Center feasibility study meetings from June and August of 2023. Here we see they're using conservative numbers to estimate the amount of construction that would actually occur in town center. These numbers basically mirror what's in the town center plan. The shaded section of this part shows the actual money that would be projected to be coming in through urban renewal, while the lines that protrude above the shaded area into the white show how much we would be borrowing in order to pay for the infrastructure and develop this area. But then just 2 months later in the August Urban Renewal Task Force Town Center Feasibility Study meeting, everything changed. The projections for residential units went up over 2.6 times. The projections for commercial and retail space went up over 3.5 times. And the amount the city was willing to indebt us on this project doubled.
We don't need to go over the previous scenario column there. That's showing work that was done at the beginning of this project months ago based on preliminary estimates of development capacity. We knew those estimates were rough, and that's why we wanted to update them this summer. We are pleasantly surprised that the numbers were significantly higher, so the capacity that we're looking at now is much higher than it was when our initial forecast was done, but we're not going to bother focusing on that previous scenario much.
Shall the city take on this level of indebtedness to get this product?
Yes, I was just going to respond to Councillor Linville's very astute observation that it seems like the price tags that may be attached to the projects that we've already been looking at in previous briefings may add up to more than this maximum indebtedness. I think you're right, but we're not dismayed yet at this point because we know that there will be other sources of funds to augment urban renewal.
And this is a list of projects that are supposed to be done in the town center plan. These total $190 million, 53% of which are supposed to be paid for by urban renewal funds. Those urban renewal funds would have to be created by improving the area to a degree as outlined in the urban renewal feasibility study, aka 4,179 residential units and 1.5 million square feet of commercial retail space. So for the past couple of months, I've been going through all these reports. I've been reading task force meeting minutes. I've been going through old council work sessions. I've been finding all kinds of information out. I've been asking questions at City Hall with our city staff and our elected officials. And I've been putting my good reputation on the line, putting all this out there publicly and speaking about it publicly through the process. Recently, I got a response from the city in writing. Let's see how it matches up to everything that we've been told. So going through this document somewhat quickly, here it is. This says that there will always be a margin of error. I'm not sure that that margin needs to be 2.6x on residential and 3.6x on commercial. Then it says 1,680 residential units were planned in the 2018-2019 town center project. But then 4,179 was forecasted for purposes of projecting debt capacity, but it represents a reasonable estimation of the land use capacity. And then it goes down and says that it is what could be potentially built and supported by planned infrastructure. So that is what is planned, that there's a plan to have that infrastructure in place in order to support this. And it considers the factors that changed since 2018 to 2019 analysis or were unknown. So to me, that says this is an update to our plan. This is how we're going to update it. And it seems to have been changed administratively between June and August of 2023 by one of our task forces. Here it goes and says that actual residential units over the next 30 to 40 years are expected to be something between 1,680 and 4,179. Not sure. Somewhere between those two numbers, 2.6 times bigger. It lands in there somewhere. I guess you'll find out once it happens. So then it goes back here. It talks about the differences between what was known in 2018 and 2019 and what was known in 2023. So in the intervening period, some factors changed. So COVID happened, which shifted some demands. The Fry's Electronics and Regal Cinemas closed, and those properties have been on the market, which potentially accelerates the timeline, especially if you don't let Home Depot or any other big box store come in there and ruin your plans for town center. The city council adopted a vertical housing development zone. That basically means that if you build commercial on the ground floor, for every level of residential that you build above that, you get 20% tax abatement for the next 10 years on that property if you're in one of these VHDZs. So you'd be silly not to build 5 stories because that would give you 4 floors of residential above that are going to be money making for you in the future. And for the next 10 years, you pay only 20% of your property taxes on that property. That's fun. But that's a good way to bring high density housing in to entice them. The CFEC implementation basically means that parking is going to be terrible in town center because there's no real requirement to build that parking anymore. It goes on to talk about monitoring growth and infrastructure capacity. And it says to approve the development, any developments that occur in town center, the city must find that adequate infrastructure to support the development already exists or will be in place within 2 years of project completion. Well, we take that statement and then we go up here and we check in with this statement up here. And we see that it could potentially be built and supported by planned infrastructure. So the infrastructure is planned and this is the estimation of what could be supported and built. So if the infrastructure is there, then the document is saying that our city can go ahead and develop it out. So that would signal to me that that number of 4,179 might be the number closer to our end product of residential units. Finally, it comes down here and it talks about how the two studies serve different purposes, but they are both efforts to plan for growth responsibly and maintain and enhance quality of life for Wilsonville's current and future residents. To me, the current residents are the ones that are going to get hosed by this. This is not the plan that people moved to Wilsonville for. We didn't move here for 5-story urban density. Anyways, that's what I've been up to these last couple of months, learning about urban renewal in the town center. But it's an important issue, and I think that it could fundamentally change our city in ways that we did not intend it to. But thank you for taking your time to watch this and becoming more informed on the issue. It's important that come November, we have informed voters who hit the ballot boxes to help select the next set of Wilsonville leadership, and that they understand what the issues are and what they could actually end up being. So thank you very much, and take care of yourselves.